What's up, guys? It's Chris. Today we are looking at the top 10 killer perks in Dead by Daylight you should have to make reliable builds for any killer. For number 10, we have No Way Out from the Trickster. No Way Out makes it so for each survivor you hook, you get an extra 12 seconds of the gate switches being blocked, allowing you to scoop up some easy endgame kills after the generators are completed while you prevent them from leaving for a full minute. This perk has been crucial for me personally in a lot of my big win streaks on the stream, and it rewards you heavily for spreading out hooks and not just targeting one or two survivors throughout the match, making it super useful and a perk the survivors can't hit you for. The only downside to this perk is it isn't going to give you any value during the actual match, and some games when you're popping off, you'll never see it actually do anything, and that's the only reason I have it so low on this list. At number 9, we have Hex Plaything. This perk makes it so after you hook a survivor, a hex is created that makes that survivor completely oblivious to your terror radius. Only that survivor can cleanse their totem for the first 90 seconds, meaning after that survivor's unhooked, they most likely still won't be doing anything while they search for their totem, and if they do decide to hop on a gen, they'll be an easy tunnel or free hit at the very least. The only reason this perk ranks so low is because the ultimate value you'll get from this perk is by pairing it with our perk in the number 8 spot, which is Pentimento. This perk allows you to relight any totem survivors break, giving you some absolutely massive slowdowns. Starting with 30% slowdown to gen repairs, this perk would already be A tier with this alone, but also giving 30% slowdown to healing, 30% slowdown to recovering off the ground, and 30% slowdown to exit gates. And finally, if you manage to light all 5 at once, blocking the totems so that no one can ever cleanse them again. If you can get even 2 of these totems lit, the survivors are going to be in for a seriously rough match, especially if these totems land in your strongest 4 or 3 gen setup. At number 7, we have Discordance. Probably the most universally impactful gen info perk. This perk highlights gens that 2 or more survivors are on in yellow. This allows you as the killer to know anytime survivors are grouped up together, allowing you to pressure more survivors at once and prevent them from slamming gens at insane speeds with things like Prove Thyself or Friendly Competition. And the reason this perk is the most reliable as far as information goes is that it ignores distortion, off-the-record aura block, and calm spirit, and allows you to know without a shadow of a doubt what gen the survivors are on. The only downside to this perk is that if no survivors are grouping on gens, you won't get any value, but it can easily save a ton of your games. At number 6, we have Dead Man's Switch. This perk has been through the ringer as far as reworks go, and by the time you're watching this video, it might have already been changed again. But as it stands, Dead Man's Switch blocks the first gen survivors let go of after you hook someone for 50 whole seconds. This is a huge amount of time, allowing you to take somebody off that generator and forget about it for almost a full minute as you can go and pressure another survivor. On top of that, if you're a character who can pressure that gen kind of hands off like Artist or Doctor, the survivors will feel your presence everywhere on the map without you actually needing to be there. For number 5, we have Deadlock. This is the go-to perk for a strategy that involves tunneling the first survivor you see or juggling hooks between 2 survivors. Deadlock blocks the generator with the most progress for 25 seconds after generator is completed. This is the best passive slowdown left in the game, buying the killer a ton of time for no real input. And this is also the last perk in the game that can rival some of Survivor's most used perks like Live and Sprint Burst, which could buy them absurd amounts of time for no real input, as this perk can buy you almost 2 full minutes of time on generators for simply putting the perk on. It's a perk that any killer can get value from and will reliably save you at least a minute in the game, which is why it's so high on this list. In the number 4 spot, we have Lethal Pursuer. Lethal allows you to see all survivors without distortion at the start of the game for 11 seconds and also extends all other aura reading perks and add-ons duration by 2 seconds. This allows you to immediately find a survivor or 2 that spawn together and pressure them without losing tons of time in the beginning of the match. If you also keep in mind the direction the other survivors are running in, you can rely on your game sense throughout the match to pinpoint exactly what generators survivors will be on all the time. Of course, you could also just pair this with Barbecue or Gearhead to be certain of where the survivors will be, but as a standalone perk, it is still amazing. At number 3, we have Bamboozle. This perk completely shuts down one of the easiest and strongest loops for survivors to run in the entire game, which is the Killer Shack. Bamboozle blocks a window you vault for 16 seconds and allows you to vault 15% faster. Combined with some killer's powers like Myers or Alien, this perk allows you to completely catch survivors off guard and land some super easy hits that would have been impossible otherwise. It is easily the strongest chase perk in the game just through its ability to shut down the shack alone, but also buffs so many killer's powers that you can't pass on grabbing this perk. For number 2, we have Pain Resonance. Pain Resonance has been a staple in killer builds pretty much since its release, and even though it isn't in its best spot right now, it is the only strong form of gen regression left. Pain Resonance allows you to knock 20% off the generator with the most progress once per survivor, totaling 80% total progress off generators for having each survivor hooked once. Using this 80% regression and taking one survivor out of the game can completely turn the tides in your favor and can be 100% necessary to having a chance to win any games against survivors with multiple toolboxes or med kits. It still also synergizes pretty well with Dead Man's Switch, so combining the two can give you massive value and secure those crucial seconds as long as you get your hooks. And in the number 1 spot is Corrupt Intervention, which a lot of you probably saw coming. I've talked about how 100% necessary this perk is to compete with a lot of strong teams for a long time. Corrupt Intervention blocks the 3 generators farthest from you when you spawn for 120 seconds or until you down somebody. Now, it's important to use it properly to get full value, but similar to Lethal, it can provide you with massive info throughout the game if you understand where survivors are and where they'll be next. This perk can help a wide range of setup killers or killers that are just weak early game. It also benefits killers who want to get early injures to set up a snowball. And it prevents survivors from spawning on 4 separate generators at the start of the game and smashing through them before you can even reach their side of the map. So in the end, if there's one perk every killer should be using in Dead by Daylight, it has to be Corrupt. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.